Let's turn this off. Okay, so what do we want to lecture about today? I'm thinking something pretty basic, which is what's the nature of categories and reality in language. So I've talked about this a bunch, but I'm going to use one particular topic that you'll know what I'm talking about based on the way I describe it, and that is the idea of classifying a person as a certain thing or classifying an object as a certain thing is dependent upon the idea of categories. So if a tree is a tree, it'll be defined as a tree by its form, its function, and its substance, what it's made of. And if you were to take a rock and you were to start carving it and make it into a perfect tree, it would not become a tree. It's still a rock. It's a rock that's been shaped like a tree. Why can't it ever be a tree? It's because the substance of the rock cannot be transmuted into wood, into the substance of the tree. So you can never turn a rock into a tree because the fundamental substance of the rock is very different from a tree. Likewise, you can't turn a lemon tree into an orange tree by painting the lemons orange. Even though you've changed the form of the lemon, you've made a lemon look like an orange by painting it a color, you haven't changed the lemon into an orange because the substance of the lemon is different. You'll cut it open, you'll see the flesh is different on the inside, even though it looks the same on the outside. You cut it open and it's a lemon on the inside, and you taste it and it's sour. So the reason we have categories is categories in language exist to describe reality, an objective reality. So if you are dealing with a person that is trying to say that categories are different from this, what we're talking about, they are making two tacit claims. The first tacit claim is that there's no objective reality. In other words, there's no such thing as categories. Objects are not different from one another. This is merely some kind of perception, or reality is not made up of objects, physical things that have shapes and substance, but rather reality is made up of perceptions and behaviors and things like that. Now, there's whole branches of philosophy that deal with this idea, and even Plato talks about the possibility of this idea that what we perceive is not necessarily real. But by the time you get to a student Aristotle, you fall back on, unless you have additional senses, you rely on what your sensory data is. And I've talked about what the reason why you should rely on your senses and why your senses should be trusted is that they're there to provide you the correct information. And you only stop trusting your senses when you are getting some other information that your senses could be wrong. So you're making a tacit claim if you're trying to say that, say, a rock can change into a tree or a lemon tree can become an orange tree by changing its form. In essence, you're saying that there's no essence to things, all right? You're tacitly making a claim there's no real objective reality, that categories don't exist and they're arbitrary. Now, that claim is pretty easily falsifiable with just the examples that I gave, right? The other tacit claim, you're either doing that or you are basically inferring that language doesn't have meaning. So either the categories don't have meaning because there's no such thing as categories, or categories don't have meaning because language is incapable of describing reality. Now, if language is incapable of describing reality, you're at a problem because you're using language to communicate that very idea. So you're using a medium that the meaning of the words is fixed between two individuals. When I say the meaning of the words is fixed, I don't mean that words never change over time, but rather the meaning of the words is what the people uttering it intend them to mean. And they are assuming the people hearing the words know what those words mean, which means between the two individuals speaking and hearing, there's a word that they both understand the meaning for. It's fixed. It exists. It's not arbitrary between the two of them. That's how language works. Otherwise, you wouldn't understand the words that I'm speaking to you now. Now, there's a possibility you didn't understand the words that I'm speaking to you now because you don't know the English language, meaning you don't know the meaning of the words. But you learn the meaning of the words assuming other people are speaking those words with those intended meanings. So the meaning is fixed. So you're either making a claim that language can't describe reality, in which case you can't have a conversation with the person, making a claim that an apple tree can become an orange tree, an orange tree can become a lemon tree by changing the color of the fruit, or by carving the tree to aesthetically look on the outward side, at least like the other tree, or carving a rock into a tree, whatever you want to talk about. So they're either saying the language doesn't mean anything, or they're saying there's no such thing as objective reality. Now, either of these two things, either of these two positions means that there's really no reasoning with the person. That person cannot be reasoned with, because to reason is to assume that there are things which are true. If there's nothing that's true, then you can't reason anything. There's no such thing as reason, and so there's no reason to reason. So if you are out there and you are seeing people who, they may be saying these things because of different influences, because of the need to fit in socially, to avoid getting banned or whatever, that, an orange tree can become a lemon tree. Just keep in mind that they're incapable of reason. They just are incapable of reason because they either believe that reality is mutable or language doesn't have meaning, in which case you can't talk to them. Okay, so those are the two extremes there. Okay, so anyway, there you go. There's that little intro there. Let's play some games. Hope you guys are having a good night. I'm going to check out the chat real quick here.